Shalom, dear friends from the nation. Welcome to Injili ya Milele ya Yahshua Messiah. This is Edron Evans, nimeorder akiwa Barakata Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam. Welcome back. We are in the book of Brit Kadashah, and that is to say the renewed covenant. As we are going, also, if there is a book that is missing in Injili ya Milele ya Yahshua, that you may also refer it to the Messianic Daval Show, the YouTube channel, and as well as the Messianic Daval Show, Yahweh Sacred Assembly, and also at Victor Kiru on Facebook pages. Yahweh do you good and Balak you. Welcome to the journey through the scriptures. I'll be your host, Ezron Evans. This is Injili ya Milele ya Yahshua Messiah once again. If you have not hit the subscription button, please do what is necessary. Yahweh do you good, and like, comment, and share with others. And also as well to the Messianic Daval Show. That is our YouTube channels. Yahweh do you good. Welcome back. The book of Marcos, or Mark, chapter number 1, verse number 1. The beginning of the good news of Yahshua HaMashiach, the Ben of Yahweh, as it has been written in the Nevi'im. See, I send my messenger before your face, who shall prepare your way before you. A voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way for the Messiah. Make his paths straight. Yochanan came immersing in the wilderness of proclaiming the immersion of repentance and forgiveness of sin. All the country of Yehuda and those of Yerushalayim, we are out to him. All were immersed by him, the Alden river, confessing their sins. And Yochanan was clothed with the camel's hair and leather girdle around his waist, and eating the locust and wild honey. And he proclaimed, saying, After me comes one who is mightier than I, whose sandal strap I am not worthy to stoop down and loosen. I indeed immerse you in water, but he shall immerse you in the Ruach HaKodesh. It came to be in the days that Yahshua came from Nazareth of Galilee and was immersed by Yochanan in the Jordan. Immediately coming out from the water, he saw the Shammai torn open, and the Ruach coming down into like a dove. A voice came out of the Shamaim, You are my Ben, the beloved in whom I delight. Immediately the Ruach drove him into the wilderness, and he was there in the wilderness for 40 days, tried by Satan, and was with the beast. And the messengers attended him. And after Yochanan was delivered up, Yahshua came to Galilee proclaiming the good news of the reign of Elohim, and saying the time has been filled, and all the reign of Elohim has come near. Repent and believe in the good news. Going by the sea of the Galilee, he saw Shimon and Andrew, his brother, casting the net into the sea, for they were fishers. And Yahshua said to them, Come follow me, and I shall make you become the fishers of men. Immediately they left their nets and followed him, and having gone on a retreat from there, saw Jacob of his Zabdi and Yohanan his brother, and they were in the boat mending their nets, and immediately he called them, and leaving their father Zabdi in the boat with the hired servants, them they after him, and they went to Capernaum, and immediately on the Sabbath he went into the congregation and taught. And they were astonished at his teaching, and he was teaching them as possessing authority, and not as the scribes. And there was a man in their congregation with an unclean spirit, and he cried out, saying, What have we to do with you, Yahshua of Nazareth? Did you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Kadosh one of Elohim. And Yahshua rebuked him, saying, Be silent and come out of him. Throwing him into conversions, the unclean spirit called up with a loud voice and came out of him. They were also amazed and Jews among themselves, saying, What is this fresh teaching with authority? He commands even the unclean spirits, and they obey him. And the news about him immediately spread into a country around Galilee, and coming out of the congregation, they went, and the mother-in-law of Shimon was sick with inflammation. Immediately they spoke to him about her. They having come, he took her by the hand and lifted her up, and immediately the inflammation left her, and she served them. And when evening came, when the sun was down, and brought to him all who were sick and those who were demon-possessed, and the entire city all gathered at the door, and he healed many who were sick with various diseases, and cast out many demons, and was not allowing the demons to speak, because they knew him. And having risen very early in the morning while still dim, he went out in the way and lonely place, and there he prayed. And Shimon and those who were with him searched for him, And when they have found him, they said to him, all are seeking you. And he said to them, let us go into the neighboring towns so that we proclaim also them also, because for this I have come forth. And he was proclaiming in the congregations in all Galilee and casting out demons. The leper came to him, calling upon him and kneeling down to him and saying to him, if you desire, you are able to make me clean. And Yahshua moved with compassion and stretched out his hand and touched to him and saying to him, if you desire, you are able to make me clean. And Yahshua moved with compassion and stretched out his hand and touched him and said to him, I desire it, be cleansed. And immediately the leprosy left him, and he was cleansed, and having strictly warned him. And immediately he sent him away and said to him, see, say not to anyone, but go and show yourself to the Kohen and may offer yourself cleansing that Moshe ordered as a witness to them. But he went and also out and began to publish it so much and to spread the word that Yahshua was no longer able to openly enter the city, but was outside in lonely places, yet they came to him from all directions. The book of Mark, chapter number 2, verse number 1, the word of Yahweh says, and some days later it came and entered into Capernaum, and it was heard that he was in the house. And so many gathered together, and there was no room, and not even at the door. And he spoke the word to them. They came to him, bringing the paralytic carried by 4, and not being able to come near because of the crowd. They uncovered the roof where he was, and when they have broken through, they laid down the bed on the paralytic was lying. When Yahshua saw they have believed, say to the paralytic son, your sins are forgiven you. Now some of the scribes were sitting there and reasoning in their hearts, why does this talk like this? Is blaspheming. Who is able to forgive sins but Elohim alone? And immediately Yahshua, knowing in his spirit that they were reasoning what that way within themselves, he said to them, why do you reason about all this in your hearts? Which is easier, to say to the paralytic your sins are forgiven, or to say rise and to take up your bed and walk? But in order for you to know that the man of Adam possesses authority over all the earth to forgive sins, he said to the paralytic, I said to you, rise, take up your bed and go to your house. And rose and straightway and took up the bed and went out before all, and saw all that were amazed and praised Elohim, saying, we have never seen the like of it. And he went out again by the sea, and all the crowd was coming to him, and he told them. And passing by he saw of a ref sitting the tax office, and said to him, follow me. And having risen him, he followed. And it came to be, as he sat at the table at his house, and the many tax collectors and the sinners sat with him, and he said to the Talmidim, for there were many, and they followed him. And when the scribes and the Pharisees saw him eating the tax collectors and sinners, and they said to his Talmidim, why does he eat and drink with tax collectors and sinners? And hearing this, Yahshua said to them, those who are strong, they have no need of a physician, but those who are sick, I did not come to call the righteous, but to repentance by sinners. And all the Talmidim of Yochanan and the Pharisees were fasting, and all they came and said to him, why do the Talmidim of Yochanan and the Pharisees fast, but your Talmidim do not fast? And Yahshua said to them, are the friends of the bridegroom able to fast while the bridegroom is with them? As long as they have the bridegroom with them, they are not able to fast. But the days shall come when the bridegroom shall be taken away from them, and they shall fast in those days. And no one sews a piece of shrunken cloth and of garment, and otherwise he renewed the piece, pulls away from the old, and the tear is made worse, and no more puts new wine into his old wineskins. Otherwise, the new wine shall burst in wineskins, and the wine runs out, and the wineskins are ruined. But new wine is to be put into the fresh wineskins, and to come into that he went into the grain fields in the Sabbath. And as they went, his Talmidim began to pluck the heads of the grain. And the Pharisees said to him, look, why do they do what is not right on the Sabbath? And he said to them, have you never read what David, when he had been and was hungry, into those who were with him, how he went into the house of Yahweh while Abiathar was the Kohen Gadol, and ate the showbread, which is not right to eat except for the Kohenim, and he gave it also to those who were with him. And he said to them, the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. So the son of Adam, is also the master of the Sabbath and the master of the Sabbath. The book of Mark chapter number 3 verse number 1. And he went into the congregation again, and a man who was with withered hand was there, and they were closely watching him whether they would heal him on the Sabbath, so as to accuse him. And he said to them, to the man who was withered hand, get up into the middle. And he said to them, is it right to do good on the Sabbath, or to do evil, to save life, or to kill? But they remained silent. And having looked around to them the displeasure of being grieved and the hardness of their hearts, he said to the men, stretch out your hand. And he stretched out his hand, and he was restored as health of the other. The book continues to say, and the Pharisees went and immediately plotted out the Herodians against him, how to destroy him. But Yahshua withdrew himself to the lead him to the sea, and a great crowd of Galilee followed him from their order, even from Jerusalem and from Edom beyond the Jordan, and those around Soal and Sidon. A large crowd came to him when they heard how much he was doing. And they spoke to his medium that was a small small boat be kept ready for him because of the crowd, lest they should press upon him. For he killed many, so that as many as had affliction fell upon him to touch him, and the unclean spirits, whenever they saw him, they fell down before him, and they cried, healed, so that many had afflictions, and many fell and touched him, and the unclean spirits, whenever they saw him, fell down before him and cried, saying, you are the man of Elohim. But he warned them many times, and they would not make him known. And he went up on the mountain and called to him whom he wanted, and they came to him, and he appointed 12 to be with him, and to be sent, and to proclaim, and to possess authority, and to heal the sicknesses, and to cast out demons. He appointed the 12, Shimon, and Yaakov of Zabdi, and Yohanan the brother of Yaakov, and to whom he added the name of Ben-Regis, that is the sons of Thunder, and Aldri the Philopos, and Bartholomew, and Baltiahu, and Toma, and Yaakov, and Reph, and also Tadai, and Shimon the Canaanite, and Yehuda from Kerioth, who was also delivered from him up. And they went into a house, and again the crowd came together, so that they were unable to eat even the bread. And when the detectives heard about this, they went out to seize him, and from there they said he out of his mind. And all the scribes who came down from Jerusalem said, he has Beelzebul, and he cast out demons by the ruler of the demons. And calling them near, he said to them in parables, how is Satan able to cast out Satan? And if the rain is divided against itself, and the rain is unable to stand, and if the house is divided against itself, the house is unable to stand. And if Satan has risen against himself, he is divided, he is unable to stand, but he has, and no one is able to enter the strong man's house and plunder his goodness, unless he first binds the strong man, and then shall plunder his house. Truly I say to you, all the things shall be forgiven the sons of men, but whatever blasphemes they speak. But he who blasphemes against the Ruach HaKodesh has no forgiveness forever, but subject to everlasting judgment, because they said, he has an unclean spirit. And his brothers and his mother came to him, standing outside, and sent him to calling him. And a crowd was sitting around him, and they said to him, see, your mother and your brothers, and outside seeking you. But he answered to them, saying, who is my brother, and who are my brothers, and who is my mother? And looking about those sitting around, he said, see, my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the desire of Elohim is my brother and my sister and my mother. Shalom, dear friends from the nation. We are continuing in for the book of Brit Kadasha. You're much welcome. Thank you for Brother Joseph Jenga. He's tuned. Thank you for following. Yahweh do you good. According to Hallelujah scriptures, according in order of the Tanakh, the book of Mark chapter number 4, as it is written in the Injil, or in the book, or in the good news of Mark. And he began to teach again by the sea, and a large crowd was gathered to him, and so that he entered into the boat into the sea, that all the crowd was on the land facing the sea, and taught them much in parables, and said to them his teachings, listen, see, a sower went to sow, and it came to be as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and the birds of the Shamaim came and devoured it. And other fell on the rocky places where it had not much soil, and immediately it sprang up, and because it had no depth of the soil, but when the sun was up to it, was scorched badly, because they had no root, and immediately it sprang up, and because it had no depth of the soil, but when the sun was up to it, was scorched badly, because they had no root, it withered away. And other fell among the thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it, and yielded no crop. And another fell on the good soil and crop, and came up and grew, and yielded a crop, some 30-fold, and some 60-fold, and some 100-fold. And he said to them, he who hears, let him let he who has an ear to hear, let him hear. And when he was alone, those about him with the 12 asked him about the parable, and he said to them, to you it has been given to know the secrets of the reign of Elohim, but to those who are outside are done in parables. And so that seeing that but do not perceive, hearing they hear but not understand, as they should turn and their sins be forgiven them. And he said to them, do you not understand this parable? Then shall you understand all the parables. The sower sows the word, and these then are the ones by the wayside where the word is sown. And when they hear, the Satan comes immediately and takes away the word that is which is sown in their hearts. Likewise, these are the ones who sown on the rocky places, who was there to hear the word, immediately receive with the joy, and they have no root in themselves, but they short-lived. Then the pressure of the persecution rises because of the word. Immediately they stumble. And others are those among them who hear the word, and the worries of this age and the deceit of riches and desires for others matters entering in and choke the word, and it becomes rootless. And those sown in good soil are those who hear the word and accept it and bear fruit, and some 30-fold, and some 60-fold, and some 100-fold. Then he said to them, will the lamb be brought to be put under a basket or under the bed? It is not to be put on a lampstand. For whoever is hidden shall be revealed, and whatever is under the bed, it is not to be put on a lampstand. For whoever is hidden shall be revealed. Whatever has been kept secret shall come to light. Anyone who has an ear to hear, let him hear. And he said to them, take heed what you hear. With the measure you use, it shall be measured to you. The more the more shall be added to you who hear. For whoever possesses, to him for more shall be given, but whoever does not possess, even to what he possesses shall be taken away from him. And he said, the land of Elohim is when a man scatters seed to the ground and then sleeps by night and raises the day, and by the seas grows and by himself does not know. For the soil yields crops in itself. First the bread, then the head, and after the completed grain of the head. And when the crop is ready, immediately he puts in a sickle, but the harvest has come. And he said, to what shall we compare the reign of Elohim? Or what the parable shall we present it? Like a mustard seed which went into sown in the ground, smaller than all the seeds of the earth. And when it is sown, it grows up and becomes greater than all the plants and forms large branches, so that the birds of the Shamaim are able to nest under its shadow. And with many such parables he was speaking to them in the words they were able to hear, and he was not speaking to them without a parable. And when they were alone, he explained all to his Talmidim. And on the same day, when evening had come, he said to them, let us pass over to the other side. And having left the crowd, they took him along with the boat, and he was, and other little boats were also with him. There came a great windstorm, and the waves and into the boat, as that it was already being filled, and he was in the stands asleep and a question. And they woke up him and said to him, Teacher, it is not concerning you that we perish. And having been awakened, he rebuked the wind and said to the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. And he said to them, Why are you afraid? Have you not yet believed? And they feared exceedingly and asked each other, Who is then this that even the wind and the sea obey him? The book of Mark, chapter number 5, verse number 1. And they came to the other side of the sea, of this country of Gadarenes. And when they came out of the boat, immediately there they met, and out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling among the tombs, and one was able to bind him, and not even with the chains, because he had often been bound with shackles and chains, and by the chains had been pulled apart by him, the shackles being broken in pieces. And no one was able to tame him, and continued chains, but the chains had been pulled apart by him, the shackles being broken in pieces. And no one was able to tame him, and continually night and day he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying out and cutting himself with stones, and seeing Yahshua from a distance. He ran and bowed down to him, and having called out with a loud voice, said, "What have I to do with you, Yahshua, Ben of the Most High El?" Yahshua swear to Elohim not to torture me. For he had said to him, "Come out of the man, unclean spirit." And he was asking him, "What is your name?" And he answered, saying, "My name is Legion, because we are many." And he begged him very much that he would not send them out of the country. Now a great herd of pigs was there, feeding near the mountains. And all the demons begged him, saying, "Send us to the pigs, so that we enter to them." And he gave them permission. And the unclean spirits came out of them and entered the pigs. They were about 2,000. And the herd rushed down into the steep place into the sea, and they drowned in the sea. And those who fed the pigs spread and reported into the city of the country, and they went to see what had taken place. And so that they came to Yahshua and saw the demon-possessed one, him who had the region sitting and dressed, and in him his right mind. And they were afraid of those who saw it related to them, what was done to them, to the demon-possessed one, and about the pigs. And they began to plead to him to leave their borders. As he was entering into the boat, he who had been demon-possessed begged him that he might be with him. And Yahshua did not allow him, but your friends, and report to what of them the master has done for you, and how he had compassion on you. And he left and began to proclaim on Decapolis and all that Yahshua had done for him, and all marveled. And when Yahshua had passed over again the boat on the other side, a large crowd assembled to him, and he was by the sea. And see, the rulers of the congregation came Yael by their name. And when he saw, he fell on his feet, and he begged him with a strong saying, "My little daughter lies at the point of death. Come, lay your hands on her to heal her, and she shall live." And he went on with him, and a large crowd was following him, and they were thronging him. And a certain woman had a flow of blood for 12 years, and had suffered much from many physicians, and spent all that she had, and was no better, but rather became worse. Having heard about Yahshua, she came behind him, and in a crowd, and touched his garment, and so for she said, "If I only touch his garment, I shall be made well." And immediately the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt on her body that she was healed in her afflictions. And immediately Yahshua, knowing in himself that the power was going out of him, turned around in the crowd and said, "Who touched my garment?" And his son made him say to him, "You see, the crowd is drawing you, and you see, who touched me?" And he was looking around and see her who did this. The woman, fearing and trembling, knowing that she was what she has done to her, came and fell down before him and spoke to him all the truth. And he said to her, "Daughter, your belief has healed you. Go in peace and relieved from all your affliction." And as he was speaking, they came from the ruler of the congregation, saying, "Your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further?" But having heard the word that was spoken, Yahshua said to the ruler of the congregation, "Do not be afraid, only believe." And he allowed to one to the follow, and to accept Kepha, Yaakov, and Hanan, and the brother of Yaakov. So they came to the house of the ruler congregation, and saw a commotion, and a much weeping and lamenting. And coming in, he said, "Why make this commotion and weep? The child has not yet died, but he is sleeping." And they were laughing at him. And when they had put all out, he took the father and the mother of the child, and those who were with him, and went in there with the child, and was crying, and taking the child by the hand, and he said to her, "Talitha Kumi," which is translated, "Little girl, I say to you, rise." And immediately the girl rose up and was walking, for she was 12 years old. And when they were completely astonished, for he ordered them many times that no one should know it, and said, "But she should be given to it." The book of Mark chapter number 6, verse number 1. The word of God says, "And he went away from there, and came to his own country, and his Talmidim followed him, and Sabbath having come, and he began to teach in the congregation, and many had were astonished, saying, Where did he get all this? And what wisdom is he which is given to him that such miracles are done through his hands? Is this not a carpenter's son of Miriam, and brother of Jacob and Joseph and Yehuda and Shimon? Are there not his sisters here with us? And they stumbled in him. And Yahshua said to them, An Nabi is not appreciated except in his own country, and among his own relatives and his own house. And he was unable to do any miracles there, except that he laid his hands on a few sick ones and healed them. And he marveled because of the unbelief, and he was going around among the villages teaching. And he called he called the 12, and he began to send them out 2 by 2 and give them authority over the unclean spirits. And he instructed them to take notes to the journey, except this staff, no bag, no bread, no copper in their money belts, but to wear sandals and not to wear 2 garments. And he said to them, Wherever you enter into the house, stay there until you have praise. And any praise that does not receive you or listen to you, when you leave there, shake off the dust under your feet as the dust under your feet as the witness against them. Truly I say to you, it shall be more bearable for Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than that city. And they went out and proclaimed the purpose to repent. They were casting out many demons. They were anointing with oil many who were sick, and they were healing them. And sovereign Herodes had in his name and become well known. And he said, Yochanan and Imansa, he said, raised from the dead. And because of this, the powers are at work in him. Others say that he is Eliyahu, and others say that he is an Nabi, like one of the Nebim. And but one of Herodes had, and he said, This one is Yohanan who I beheaded. He has been raised from the dead. For Herod himself had sent and said Yohanan and bound him in prison because of the Herodes, his brother Philippus' wife, because he had married her. For Yohanan had said to Herodes, It is not right for you to have your brother's wife. So Herodes held a grudge against him and wanted to kill him, but was unable. For Herodes feared Yohanan, knowing that was a righteous and Kodesh man, and protected him. And when he heard him, he was much perplexed, and yet him gladly. And suitable day came with Herodes on his birthday, and gave a feast of these great men of the thy officers and the chief men of Galilee. When the daughter of Herodias herself came in and danced and praised Herodias, and those who sat at him with the sovereign, and said to the girl, Ask me, whatever you want, I shall give it to you. And he said to her, Whatever you ask me, I shall give to you, or even of half of my lane. And she went out and said to her mother, What shall I ask? And she said, The head of Yohanan the Imansa. And the coming immediately with haste to the sovereign, and she asked, saying, I want you to give me at once the head of Yohanan the Imansa in a dish. The sovereign becoming deeply grieved because of the oath, and because of all those who sat with him, did not want to refuse her. And the sovereign straight away sent the executioner, and commanded his head to be brought. And he went and beheaded him in prison, and brought his head on a dish and gave it to the girl. The girl gave it to her mother. And when his Talmidim heard of it, they came to and took away his dead body and laid it in a tomb. And the emissaries gathered to Yahshua and reported to him all what had done and what they had taught. And he said to them, Come aside by yourselves to a lonely place and rest a little. For there were many coming and going, and they did not even have time to eat. And they went away to a lonely place in the boat by themselves. And they saw them going, and many recognizing him, and ran there on foot from all the cities, and came before them, and came together to him. And having gone out, Yahshua saw a large crowd, and was moved with a compassion for them, because they were like sheep not having a shepherd. And he began to teach them much. And as the hour grew late, his Talmidim came to him and said, This is a lonely place, and now the hour is late. Send them away so that they go into the surrounding country and the villages to buy for themselves bread, since they have not to eat. But he answering said to them, You give them to eat. And they said to him, Should we go and buy 200 silver worth of bread and give them to eat? And he said to them, how many dogs do you have? And see. And when they have found out, they said, 5 worth of bread and give them to eat. And he said to them, how many dogs do you have? And see. And when they have found out, they said, 5. And when they have found out, they said, 5 and 2 fish. And he ordered them to make them sit down into groups on the green grass, and they sat down in groups in hundreds and fifties, and taking the 5 loaves of bread and the 2 fish, looking up to the Shamaim, he barak and broke the loaves and gave them to his Talmidim to put them before the 2 fish he divided among them all. And all 8 were satisfied, and they picked up the 12 baskets filled with fish also from the fish. When those who ate the loaves were about 5,000 men, and immediately he made his Talmidim to enter into the boat and to go before him into other side of Bethsaida, while he was diminishing the crowd. Having them away, he went away to the mountain to pray. And when evening came to the boat, he was in the middle of the sea, and he was alone on the land. Seeing them straining at rowing, for the wind was against them, at about the 4th watch of the night, he came to them walking on the sea, and intended to pass them by. And when they saw him walking on the sea, they thought it was a phantom, and cried out, for they all saw him and trembled. And immediately he spoke to them and said to them, take courage, it is I, do not be afraid. And he went up into the boat, and the wind ceased, and they were exceeding amazed to themselves, for they marveled, for they did not understand about the loaves, because of their heart was hardened. And having passed over, they came to the land of Gennesaret and drew to the shore. And they came. And when they came out of the boat, he was immediately recognized, and all the neighborhood ran about and began to carry about the beds those who were sick to wherever they heard he was. And wherever he went into the villages and cities and country, they were lying the sick in the marketplaces, and begged him and let him touch, if hungry, the tzitzit of his garment. And as many touched him were healed. The book of Marcos, or the book of Mark, chapter number 7, verse number 1. It says, and the Pharisees and the some of the scribes assembled to him, having comes from Jerusalem, seeing some of his Talmidim eat bread with the first, that is, with unwashed hands, they found fault. For the Pharisees and all the Olim did not eat unless they washed their hands thoroughly, holding fast the tradition of the elders. And from the marketplace they did not eat unless they washed. And there were many others in which they have received the whole fast of the washing of the cups and the utensils and the copper vessels and coaches. Then the Pharisees and the scribes asked him, why do you at Talmidim not walk according to the tradition of our elders, but eat bread with the unwashed hands? And he answering said to them, well, did Yeshua and Abba concerning you hypocrites, as it has been written, the people respect me with their lips, but their heart is far away from me. And in vain do they worship me, teaching us the teachings of the commandments of men, forsaking the command of Elohim. You hold fast the tradition of men, washing the pots and cups and many other like matters. And he said to them, well, do you put aside the command of Elohim in order to guard your tradition? For Moshe said, respect your father and your mother, and you curse his mother, let him be put to death. But you say, if a man says to his father or mother, what profit you might have received from me in his korban? That is a gift. That you him be do not for all his father and his mother. You refine the word of Elohim through your own tradition, which you have handed down, and many such like you do. And calling the crowd to him, he said to them, hear me, everyone, and understand, there is no matter that enters from outside which is able to defile him, but is that comes out of him that defiles the man. If anyone hears, let him hear. And when he went from the crowd into the house, his Talmidim asked him concerning the parable. And he said to them, are you also without understanding? Do you not perceive that whatever enters a man from outside is unable to defile him, because it does not enter his heart, but his stomach, and cast out into swear, thus purging all the foods? And he said, what comes out of a man, that defiles a man. For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil reasonings, adultery, swearing, and murders, theft, greedy desires, wickedness, deceit, infidelity, and evil eye, blasphemy, pride, and foolishness. And all this wickedness comes from within and defile a man. And raising up there, he went in the borders of Saul and Sidon, and entering into the house, and he wanted no one to know it, but was impossible to be hidden. For a woman whose young daughter had an ugly spirit, had about him, and she came and fell at his feet. Now the woman was a Yawanite, and saw for he came and the birth, and she kept asking to cast the demon out of her daughter. And Yahshua said to her, "Let the children be satisfied first, for it is not good to take the children's food for bread to be thrown into the little dogs." But she answering and said, "Yes, Adonai, for even the little dogs under the table from the children's crumbs." And he said to them, "Because of this word, go, the demon has gone out of your daughter." And having come into the house, she found the demon gone out and the daughter lying on the bed. And again going out of the borders of Soar and Sidon, and came by the sea of Galileo, though the midst of the waters of Decapolis, and they brought out to him, for they was deaf and spoke with difficulty. They begged him, and he laid his hand upon him. And taking him away from the crowd, he put his fingers in his ears, and having spit, he touched his tongue. And looking up to the Shammai, he said to him, "Father, that is, be open." And immediately his ears were opened, and binding his tongue and was loosened, and he was speaking plainly. And he ordered them that they should say to it no one. But the more he ordered them, the more they published it. And they were immeasurably astonished, saying, "He has done as well. He makes even the deaf to hear, the dumb to speak." In those days, the dumb to speak. As we continue in the book and the word of Yahweh, the scriptures, the book of Mark chapter 8 from verse number 1. The book of Mark chapter 8 verse number 1. In those days, they were being very late and having not to eat, Yahshua called his Talmidim near and said to them, "I have the crowd, for they have now been with me for 3 days. They have not fed. They and they shall faint on the way, for some of them have come from." His Talmidim answered him, "How can the crowd to sit down on the ground?" And taking and having barak, they had 7 large baskets broken in pieces, and those who are eating were about 4,000, and dismissed them. And immediately entering into the boat with the Talmidim, he came to the pass of the Damanutha, and the Pharisees came out and back and began to dispute with him, seeking from him sign from the Shammai, trying him, and sighing deeply his spirit, he said, "This generation seek a sign. Truly I say to you, no sign shall be given to this generation." And leaving them and again entering into the boat, he went away to the other side. And they had forgotten to take the bread, and they did not have more than one loaf with them in the boat. And he was warning them, saying, "Mind, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, and of the leaven of the Herods." When they reasoning with one another, saying, "Because we have not bread, we have no bread." And Yahshua, being aware of it, said to them, "Why do you reason because that you have no bread? Do you not yet perceive and not understand? Is your heart still hardened? Having eyes do not see, and having ears you do not hear, and your heart, and do you not remember when I broke the fish loaves and the 5,000, and how many baskets filled and broken pieces did you pick up?" They said him 12. "And when I broke the 7 and the 4,000, and how many large baskets filled with broken pieces did you pick up?" 7. And he said to them, "How do you not understand?" And he came into Bethsaida, and they brought a blind man to him, and begged him to touch him. And taking the blind man by the hand, and led him out of the eyes again, and he made look up, and he was restored and saw all clearly. And he sent him away to his home, saying, "Do not go into the village." And Yahshua and his Talmidim went to the villages of Caesarea Philippus, and when he asked his Talmidim, saying to them, "Who do men say I am?" And they say to him, "Yohanan the Imamsa, others say Elia, but others say of the Nevi'im." And he asked them, And you, who do you say that I am?" And Kepha answering said to them, "You are Hamashiach." And he warned them that they should speak to no one about him. And he began to teach them, and the band of Adam has to suffer much, and rejected by the elders and the chief Kohen and the scribes, and killed them. And after the 3 days does arise again. And he was speaking about this openly, and Kepha taking him aside, began to rebuke him, and turning around and seeking the Talmidim, and rebuked Kepha, saying, Go behind me, Satan, for those are not those of Elohim, but those of men. And calling near the crowd and his medium, he said to them, whoever desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his stake and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life shall lose it. And whoever loses his life for the sake of me and the good news, he shall save it. For what shall it profit for a man if he gains all of the world and loses his own hide? And what shall a man keep in exchange of his life? For whoever is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinning generation, of him the Ben of Adam also shall be ashamed when he comes into the esteem of his Father with him the Kadosha messengers. The book of Marcos, chapter number 9, verse number 1. The world will not taste death until they see the ring of Elohim having come in power. After 6 days, Yahshua took Kepha, Yaakov, and Yohanan and led them out on a mountain alone in themselves, and he said he was transformed before them. His garments became glittering exceedingly white like the snow, such as no launderer on earth is able to whiten. Though there appeared to them Eliyahu and Moshe and were talking with Yahshua. Kepha responding said to Yahshua, Rabbi, it is good for us that to be here, and let us make 3 booths, one for you, one for Moshe, and one for Eliyahu. Because he did not know what to say, they were exceedingly afraid. And there came our crowd overing them, and a voice came from the crowd saying, this is my Ben, the beloved, hear him. And suddenly looking around, they no longer saw anyone among them, but only Yahshua. As they were coming down from the mountain, he ordered them to relate to anyone what they saw, till the Ben of Adam had risen from the dead. And they kept this matter themselves, debating what the rising from the dead meant. And they asked him, saying, why do the scribes say that Eliah has to come first? And he said to them, Eliyahu indeed, having come first, restores all them. Eliyahu indeed, having come first, restores all. And how has it been written concerning the Ben of Adam, that he is to suffer much and be despised? And I say to you that even Eliyahu has come, and they did to him whatever they wanted. And I say, it has been written of you. And coming to the Talmudim, and he saw a large crowd around them, and the scribes immediately when all the crowd saw him, they were greatly alarmed, and running near, greeted him, and asked the scribes, what are you disputing with them? And one of the crowd answering said, Teacher, I brought you my son, who has Adam's spirit, and wherever he seizes him, he throws him down to the frost and crushes his teeth, and he wastes away. And I spoke to the Talmudim that they should cast out but they were not able. And he answered him, said, O unbelieving generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I be with you and put up with you? Bring him to me. So they brought him to him, and when he saw him, immediately the spirit drew him in unconversions, and falling down on the ground and rolled about frothing. And he asked his father, how long has he been like this? And he said, from childhood. And often he threw him both into the fire and into the water to destroy him. But if it is all possible for you, have compassion on us and help us. And Yahshua said to him, if you are able to believe, all this is possible to him who believes. And immediately the father and the child cried out and said to the tears, I believe, Adonai, help my unbelief. And when Yahshua saw that the crowd came running together, he rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to him, you deaf and dumb spirit, I order you, come out of him, and never again to enter him. And crying out and conversing him much, and it came out of him, and he came as the one dead, so that many say that he was dead. But Yahshua, taking him by the hand, lifted him up, and he arose. And when he came into the house of the Talmudim and asked him separately, why were we unable to cast him out? And he said to them, it is impossible for this kind to come out except through prayer and fasting. Going through there, they passed through Galilee and did not want anyone to know. For he was teaching his Talmudim and said to them, the Ben of Adam is being delivered into the hands of men, and they shall kill him. And having been killed him, that he shall rise on the 3rd day. But they did not understand the word, and they were afraid to ask him. They came to Capernaum. And having come in the house, he asked them, what was it to you, a dispute among yourselves on the way? And they were silent on the way, and they disputed with one another who was the greatest. And sitting down, he called the 12 and said to them, if anyone wants to be first, he shall be the last of all, the servants of all. And he took a little child and put him in the midst, and taking him in his arms, he said to them, whosoever receives one of such little children in my name receives me. Receives not me, but the one who sent me. And Yohanan said to him, Teacher, we saw someone who does not follow us casting out demons in your name. And who forbade him? And we forbade him because he does not follow us. And Yahshua said, do not forbid him. For anyone who works a miracle in my name is able repeatedly to speak evil of me. For who is not against us is for us. For whoever gives us a cup of water to drink in my name, because you are my Mashiach, because you are of Mashiach, because you are of Mashiach, truly I say to you, shall by no means lose his reward. And whoever causes one of these little ones who believe to stumble, it is better for him in a millstone were hung around his neck, and he was thrown into the sea. And if your hand makes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter into the life crippled than having two hands, and to go to Gehinnom, into unquenchable fire, where thrown worms and does not die, and the fire is not quenched. And if your foot makes you to stumble, cut it off. It is better you enter into life crippled than having 2 feet to be thrown into Gehinnom, into the unquenchable fire, where the worms and does not die, and the fire is not quenched. And if your enemies, and if your eye makes you to stumble, practice it out. It is better for you to enter into the reign of Elohim with one eye, and having 2 eyes to be thrown into Gehinnom, where the worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. For everyone shall be seasoned with fire. In every offspring shall be seasoned with salt. Salt is good, but if the salt becomes tasteless, how shall the season it? Have salt in yourselves, and be at peace among one another. The book of Mark, chapter number 10, verse number 1. And rising up there, he came into the borders of Yehuda by the other side of Jordan. And the crowds gathering to him again, and he usually did. He was teaching them again. And the Pharisees came and asked him, is it right for a man to put away his wife? And trying him, and he answering and said to them, what did Moshe command you? And they said, Moshe allowed a man to write a certificate of separation and of divorce. And Yahshua said to them, because of the hardness of your heart, he wrote to you this command. However, from the beginning of the creation, Elohim made the male and the female. For this cause a man shall leave his father and mother, and to join unto his wife, and the two shall become one flesh, so that they are no longer two but one flesh. Therefore that Elohim has joined together, let man not separate. And in the course of his Talmudim asked him about this again, and he said to them, whoever puts away his wife and marries another commits adultery against her. And if a woman puts away her husband and marries another, she commits adultery. And they were bringing little children unto him to touch them, and by the Talmudim were rebuking those who were bringing them. And when Yahshua saw it, he was much displeased and said to them, let the little children come unto me, and do not forbid them, for such is the reign of Elohim. Truly I say to you, whoever does not receive the reign of Elohim as a little child shall not certainly enter to it. And taking them up by his arms, laying his hands on them and barak them. As he was proceeding on the way, and came running and knelt before him and asked him, good teacher, what shall I do to inherit the everlasting life? And Yahshua said to him, why do you call me good? For no one is good except one, Elohim. You know the commandments. Do not commit adultery, do not murder, do not steal, do not bear false witness, do not defraud, respect your father and your mother. And he said to him, teacher, all these have I watched over from my youth. And Yahshua, looking at him, loved him, and said to him, one you lack, go sell all you possess and give to the poor, and you shall have treasure in Shamaim, and come follow me, taking the up stake. But he, being sad at this word, went away grieved, for he had many possessions. And Yahshua, looking around, said to the Talmudim, the Talmudim was touched at his words, and Yahshua responded and said to them, again, children, how hard is it for those who trust in riches to enter into the reign of Elohim? It is easier for a camel to enter the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the reign of Elohim. And they were immeasurably astonished among themselves. Who then is going to be saved? Looking at them, Yahshua said, with men it is impossible, for with Elohim all things are possible. And Kepha began to say to him, see, we have left all that we have and we have followed you. Yahshua said, truly I say to you, that there is no one who has left house or brothers or sisters or father or mother or wife or children or lands for the sake of me and of the good news, who shall not receive 100 more of this time, and now of this time, houses and brothers and sisters and mothers and children and lands, the persecutions and the age to come, everlasting high, but many who are first shall be last, and the last shall be first. And they were on the way going up to Jerusalem. Jesus was going before them and was astonished, and those who followed him were afraid. And again he took the 12 aside and began to say to them, what was about to befall him? See, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the ben of Adam shall be left to the people and to the scribes, and they shall condemn him to death, deliver him of the Gentiles, and they shall mock him and kill him, and on the third day he shall rise again. And the Apostle Cornelius be asked, and he said to them, what do you want me to do for you? And they said to him, grant us to be esteemed, one of your right and the other on your left hand. But Yahshua said to them, you do not know what you mention that I am immersed, you shall be immersed. But to sit on my right hand, on my those who think the rule of Gentiles is over them, and they agree to once exercise authority over them. But is no one among you, and whoever wants to be first of he is high of the rams of Jericho, and he was Nazareth. And many were demanding him to be silent. Have compassion on me, is for you. Inside the garment and came to you. And Yahshua spoke and said to him, what do you desire I do for you? And the blind man said, go. First, and immediately again and followed. And when they came to Jerusalem and Beth and immediately drew the young to you, are you doing to the say they don't need and so found the side and by the door and the street they used it, and some those standing there say, what are you doing? Losing the call, and they them as yet said, so that they let them go. They brought the colt and Yahshua threw the garments on it, and he said on it, and he said on it, and many spread the garments on the way and cutting down branches from the tree of Yahweh. Baruch comes in of the with the name of Hoshana, the highest, and Yahshua when Sheraim and into Mikdash in the name of the name of YHWH and I say to you, what other do I do this? The mention of him, was it from his state from men? They said the people, we do not consult the Mekdash and overturn the tables in the state of those selling the for those who have hit the subscription button. Then and what he says shall be done, he shall have whatever he says. Because of this, I said, Yahshua Messiah. Now, we are in the book of Matthew. By what authority do I the mention of Yohanan from the Shamaim or from men? Answer me. They did among those who were him. He shall say, then why did you not believe? But if we say from indeed must receive some and kings him, that's what they shall respect my son. But those farmers say themselves, this is the heir, let us kill him. The inheritance shall be ours. So they took and killed him and drew him out of the vineyard. And then they shall owner of the vineyard do. He shall come and vineyard and destroy the farmers and the vineyard to the other and give the vineyards to the others. Have you not read the scriptures? The stone which the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. This was from Yahweh, and it is marvelous in our eyes. And they were seeking to seize him, but he feared the crowd, for they knew it had been spoken of the parable against them. And leaving them, they went away. And they sent him to some of the Pharisees, to the Herodians, to catch him in a word. And when they came, they say, Teacher, we know that you are a teacher, true, and it does not concern you about anyone who you are not partial to anyone, or to teach away of him is truth, and it is right to pay taxes to Caesar or not. Should we pay or should we not pay? And he, knowing their hypocrisy, said to them, why do you try me? But give me a silver piece to look at it. When they brought it, and he said to them, whose likeness and the inscription is in this? And they said to Caesar's. So Yahshua said to them, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to Elohim what is Elohim's. And they marveled at him, and Sadducees who are they say there is no resurrection to him. And they asked him, say, Teacher, Moshe wrote to us that if a brother of anyone dies and leaves a wife behind, and there leaves no children, his brother should take his wife and raise up offspring for his brother. And there were 7 brothers in the first, and took a wife, and did not leaving of the children. And the second took her, and they died, leaving no offspring. And the third likewise, and the 7 left no offspring. Last of all the women of all, the woman died. In the resurrection then, when they rise, whose wife shall she be? For 7 had her as a wife. And Yahshua answering said to them, this is not why you go astray, because you do not know the scriptures nor the power of Elohim. When they raise from the dead, they neither marry nor marry, but they are like the messengers in the Shamaim. And concerning the dead, that they shall rise. Have you not read in the book of Moshe at the bush, how Elohim spoke to him, saying, I am the Elohim of Abraham, Elohim of Isaac, and Elohim of Jacob, and this is not the Elohim of the dead, but the Elohim of the living. Then you are greatly astray. And no one of the scribes near, hearing them reasoning together, knowing that he had answered them well, asked him, which is the first commandment of all? And Yahshua answered to him, the first of all, which is the commandment, is, Hear, O Israel, Yahweh Elohim, Yahweh Echad. And you shall Yahweh Elohim with all your heart and with all your being, with all your mind and with all your strength. This is the first command, and the second is like this: you shall love your neighbors yourself, and there is not any other greater command than this. And the scribe said to him, well, say, Teacher, thou hast spoken the truth, for there is one Elohim, and there is no other beside, and to love him with all our heart, and with all our understanding, and with all our being, and with all our strength, and to love one's neighbor as oneself is more than all of these burnt offerings and slaughter offerings. And when Yahshua saw that, he answered wisely, he said to him, you are not far from the line of Elohim. And after that, no one dared to question him. And Yahshua responded and said, while teaching in the Mikdash, how is that the scribes say that the Hamashiach is the Ben of David? David himself says by the Ruach HaKodesh, Yahweh said to my Adonai, sit at my right hand, and I make your enemies as a footstool for your feet. David himself calls him Adonai. By what way? Then he sees the band of his band. And the large crowd heard him gladly, and in his teaching he was saying to them, beware of the scribes who walk like around in long robes and greetings in the marketplaces, and in the best great seats in the congregation and the places of the feast, who are devouring windows houses in the show of the long prayers, they shall receive their great judgment. And sitting opposite to the treasury, saw how the people put copper into the treasury, and much rich once put in mud. And the poor came and drew in 2 small coins, which amount to a quarter, and calling here to his meeting, and said to them, truly I say to you that the poor widow has put in more than of all those putting into the treasury, for they all put in your excess, but she has on poverty to put all that she had, her entire livelihood. The book of Mark, chapter number 13, verse number 1. And as he went on the Mikdash, the word of Yahweh says, as he went into the Mikdash, out of his midst, made him say to him, Teacher, see what stones and what buildings. And Yahshua answering said to him, do you see these great buildings? Not one shall be left one upon another at all, which shall not be thrown down. As such he sat on the Mount of Olives opposite the Mikdash Kepha, and Yaakov and Yochanan and Mary asked him separately, say to us when all this shall be, and what shall be the sign when all this is going to be accomplished. And Yahshua began to say to them, take heed that no one leads you astray. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am he, and they shall lead many astray. And when you hear of the fightings and reports of fightings, do not be troubled, it has not taken place, but the end is not yet. For the nation shall arise against the nation, and reign against the reign. And there shall be earthquake in various places, and there shall be scarcities of food and disturbances. These are the beginnings of the birth of pain, the birth pains. But take heed to yourselves, that you shall deliver you up to the council of the congregation, you shall be beaten, and you shall be brought before the rulers and the sovereigns for my sake, as a witness to them. And the good news has to be proclaimed for the first to all the nations, and when they lead you away to deliver you, do not be beforehand for what you are to say, but whatever is given to you, that I will speak, that it is not you who are speaking by the Ruach HaKodesh, and the brother shall deliver the brother to death, and the father his child, and the child shall raise up against his parents, and shall put them to death. They shall be hated by you, shall be hated by all because of my name, because we shall have endured to the end, shall be saved. And when you see the abomination that race was spoken by the Daniel the Nabi put up, it should not be. He who reads it, let him understand. Then those who are in Yehuda flee to the mountains. And he who is in the housetop, let him go down into the house and not come into the whatever out of his house. And he who is in the field, let him go back into his to get his crop. And woe to those who are pregnant, to those who are nursing the children in those days. And pray that your prayer does not take place in winter, for those days they are small in distress, and to such as being from the beginning of creation, which Elohim created until this end, this time, for never shall be. And if they done that shortened those days, no flesh would have been saved to the chosen ones whom he chose. He shortened the days. And if anyone then says to you, look, here is Hamashiach, or look there, do not believe. For false messiahs and false prophets shall arise and show signs and wonders to lead astray, if possible, even the chosen ones. And if you take it, see, I have forewarned you, for you at all. But in those days after this days, the sun shall be darkened, the moon shall not give its light, and the stars of the Shemaim shall fall, and the powers in those of the Shemaim shall be shaken, and they shall see the band of Adam coming in the clouds with much power and esteem. And then he shall send his messengers and assemble his chosen sons from the four winds, from the farthest parts of the earth and farthest out of the Shemaim, and done the parables from the fig tree when its branches already become tender and both forth with the leaves, and you know that the summer is near. So also when you see this taking place, you know that it is near the door. Truly I say to you, This generation shall by no means pass away, and all this takes place with the Shamaim al shall pass away, and my word shall not by means pass away. But the concerning the day and the hour, no one knows, not even the messengers of the Shamaim, nor the Ben, but only the Father. Take heed, watch and pray, for you do not know when the time is. And a man is going abroad, having left his house and given authority to his servants and to each his work, and commanded the doorkeeper to watch. Watch therefore, for you do not know when your master, the master of the house, is coming, in the evening, or at midnight, or at the crowing of the cock, or the morning, lest coming suddenly he should find you sleeping. And what I say to you, I say to all, watch. The book of Marcos, chapter number 14, verse number 1. 14 verse number 1, the word of Yahweh says, now the Pesach of the Matzot was after 2 days, and the chief Kohanim, the scribes, were seeking how to take him through the treasury and to put him to death. And they said, not one of the festival of rest there shall be a plural of the people. And while he was in Beit, in the house of Shimon the leper, and sitting at the table, a woman came having an alabaster of the flask and perfume, genuine and nard, very costly, and breaking of the flask, the proud and his bread. But there were some who were much displeased among themselves and said, why was this perfume wasted? And it was being sold for more than 3 pieces of silver and given to the poor. They were scolding her, but Yahshua said, leave her alone. Why do you trouble her? She has done good for work for me. For you have the poor with you always, and whenever you want, you're able to do good to them, but to do or not always have me. What she had, she used. She took it beforehand to anoint my body for the burial. Truly I say to you, wherever this good news is proclaimed in all the world, that human deed shall also be spoken of to the remembrance. And Yehuda from Kerioth, one of the 12, went to the chief Kohanim to deliver him up to them. When they had it, they were glad, and I promised to give him silver, and he was seeking how to deliver him up conveniently to them. And when they had it, they were glad, and I promised to give him silver, and he was seeking how to deliver him up conveniently. And on the first day of the Matzot, when the Pesach slaughtering of the Pesach system meeting, said to him, where do you want us to prepare the Pesach for you to eat? And he said out of his total meetings and said to them, go into the city where and there a man bearing a jar of water shall meet you, follow him. And whenever he enters, and say to the master of the house, the teacher says, where is the guest room in which I am to eat the Pesach with my talmidim? He shall show you a large upper room, finished and ready, prepare for us. And his talmidim went and came to the city and found it is as he told them, and they prepared the Pesach. The evening having come, and come to the top as they sat at the table, Yahshua said, truly I say to you, one of you who is sitting with me shall deliver me up. And they began to be grieved and to say to him one by one, is it I? And another, is it I? And he answering said to them, it is one of the 12, he who is sleeping with me in the dish, the Ben of Adam indeed, going, and is there being written of him, but woe to the man, oh the Ben of Adam, you dry up, and would have been the good for that man he had not been born. As they were eating, Yahshua took bread, having barak, and broke it and gave it to them and said, take it, that is my body, and taking the cup, and that I gave them into their hand, and they all ate, drank, and from it. And he said to them, this is my blood, what that is of renewed covenant, which is shed for many. It continues to say, truly I say to you, I shall certainly no more drink of the fruit of the vine until that day when I drink on the reign of Elohim. And having sung a song, they went out of the Mount of Olives, and Yahshua said to them, all of you shall stumble in me. In this night it has been written, I shall strike the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered. But after I am raised, I shall go before you to Galilee. And Cephas said to him, even if I shall stumble, yet to him. Even if I shall stumble, yet not I. And Yahshua said to him, truly I say to you today, the night before the cock shall crow twice, you shall deny me 3 times. But he spoke more strongly, If I have to die with you, and I shall not deny you. And they all said the same. And they came to a place called Gath Shemen and said to his Midian, Sit there while I pray. And he took with him Kepha and Yaakov and Hanan, and he began to be greatly alarmed and to be deeply distressed. And he said to them, My being is exceedingly grieved, and even to death. Stay here and watch. And he went and the little fell in the ground, and he praying, and that if it were possible, that the hour might pass from him. And he said, Abba, Father, all is possible for you. Make this cup pass from me. Yet not what I desire, but what you. And he came, and then he found him sleeping, and said to Kepha, Shimon, are you sleeping? You are not able to keep with the watch of an hour. Watch and pray lest you enter into trial. The spirit indeed is eager, but the flesh is weak. And again he went away and prayed and spoke the same words. And having turned, and he found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy, and they did not know what to answer him. And he came the third time and said to them, Are you still sleeping and resting? It is not enough. The hour has come, see, and the bane of Adam is being delivered up into the hands of the sinners. Rise up and let us go see he who is delivering me up, and the draw near. And immediately while he was still speaking, Yehuda, one of the 12, was large in the crowd of the swords and the crafts, come from the chief Kohanim, the scribes of the elders, and the one who was delivering Rama, and given them a signal, saying, Whoever I kiss is you, and says him, and lead him away safely. And coming down straight up to him, and said to him, Rabbi, Rabbi, and kissed him. And they said, they laid their hands on him and seized him. And one of those standing by them drew the sword and struck the servants of the Kohen Gadol and cut off his ear. And Yahshua answering said to them, Have you come out of against a robber with swords and clubs to take me? Daily I was with you in Mikdash teaching you, and did not seize me. But then made the scripture before, and they let off him and fled. And certain young man was following him, and having a linen cloth over the nakedness, and when they seized him, he left the linen cloth and fled from the naked. They fled from the naked, and they led Yahshua away to the Kohen Hagadol, and all the chief Kohenim and all the elders and the scribes came together to him, and Kepha followed him at distance even to the courtyard of the Kohen Hagadol, and was sitting the officers and warming himself at the fire. And the chief Kohenim and all the council were speaking witness against Yahshua to put him to death, and they were finding none. For many bore witness against him, but their evidence did not agree. Some rose up and bore false witness against him, saying, We heard him saying, I shall destroy the Mishkan, they shall be made with the hands, and within 3 days I shall build another made without hands. And not even then did their witness agree. Then the Kohen Gadol stood up in the center, and Yahshua said, Have you no answer to make? What do these witnesses say against you? But he remained silent and gave no answer. And again the Kohen Gadol asked him, saying, To him, Are you the Hamashach, the ben of the Baruch? And Yahshua said, I am. And you shall see the ben of Adam sitting at the right hand of the Almighty, and coming with the crowds of the Shamayim. And tearing his garment, the Kohen Gadol said, What further need do we have for the witness? You have heard the blasphemy. What do you think? All of them condemned him and to be liable to death. And some began to spit on him and blindfold him and beat him, and to say to him, Nabah. The officers struck him with the palms of their hands. And as Kepha was below the courtyard, one of the servants girls of the Kohen Gadol came, and seeing Kepha warming himself, she looked at him and said, And you are with Yahshua of Nazareth. But he denied, said, I did not know, nor understand what you are saying. And he went out onto the porch, and a cock crowed, and the servant girl saw him again and began to say, Those who stood by this is one of them. And again he was denying it. And after a little while, those who stood by again said to Kepha, Truly you are one of them, for you are a Galilean too, and your speech is alike. And he began to curse and to swear, I do not know this man, or who you speak. And a second time the cock crowed, and Kepha remembered the word of Yahshua had said to him, Before the cock crows twice, you shall deny me 3 times. And thinking on it, he wept. The book of Mark, chapter number 15, verse number 1. And immediately in the morning, the chief Kohanim of the council with the elders of the scribes and all the council, having bound Yahshua led him away and delivered him to Pilate. Pilate asked him, "Are you the sovereign of the Yehuda?" And he answering said to him, "You say." The chief Kohanim accused him of much, and he made much no answer. But Pontius Pilate again said to him, saying, "Have you no answer? See how much the witness against you." But Yahshua, and he made much no answer. But Pontius Pilate again said to him, saying, "Have you no answer? See how much the witness against you." But Yahshua still gave no answer. So the Pilate marveled, and as the festival released them the prisoner, whomever they were asking, there was one called Barnabas, claimed with his fellow rebels and who had committed murder in the uprising. And the crowd crying around began to ask, as he had always done for them. But Pilate answered them, saying, "Do you want me to release for you the sovereign of Yahudi?" For he knew that the chief Kohanim had handed him over because of the envy. And the chief Kohanim stirred up the crowd of the Jews, should rather release Barnabas to them. And Pilate answered, "What then do you want me to do for you, who call the sovereign of Yahudi?" Again they cried out and impaled him. And Pilate said to them, "Why? What evil has he done?" And they vehemently cried out and impaled him. And Pilate, wanting to satisfy the crowd, released Barnabas to them, having whipped him or delivered Yahshua over to be impaled. The soldiers led him into the court, which is praised by the called together the entire squad. They decked him with purple, and they sprinked a crown of thorns and put on it, and they began to call out to him, "Great sovereign Yahweh." And they kept beating on him the head with a reed, and they were spitting on him and bending the knee. They were bowing down to him. And they had mocked him, and they took the purple of him and put his garment on him, led him out of the impaled him. And they compelled a pass by Shimon the Canaanite coming from a field, for the first impaled him. And they compelled a pass by Shimon the Canaanite coming from a field, for the father of Alexander of Rufus to bear his stake. And they brought him to the place called Golgotha, which is translated place of skull. And they were giving him a mix of milk to drink, but he did not take it. When they impaled him, and they divided his garments, and casting the rods of which one should take, and it was the third hour, and they impaled him. The inscription is his accusation was written above, "The sovereign of Yehudim." And with him they impaled two robbers on his right and his left. The scriptures was fulfilled, which says he was reckoned with the lawless. And those passing by, they blaspheming him and shaking their heads and saying, "Ah, you destroyed the Mishkan building in 3 days. Save yourself and come down from the stake." And likewise the chief Kohanim and the scribes mocking to one another said, "He saved others, he is unable to save himself. Amashak, the sovereign of Israel, come down from the stake, so that we believe that those who were impaled with him were reproaching him." And when the 6th hour came, the darkness came over all the land until the 9th hour. And at the 9th hour, Yahshua cried out with a loud voice, saying, "Eri, Eri, Rama Sabachthani," which is translated, my El, why have you forsaken me?" And some of them standing by, they heard it and said, "See, he is calling Elia." And someone ran and filled the sponge with the vinegar, put it on a reed, and offered to him to drink, saying, leave him, let us see if Elia comes to him down." And Yahshua cried out with a loud voice and breathed out his wrath. And the veil of Mishkan was torn in two from the top to bottom. When the captain who was standing opposite him saw, and he cried out like this, and breathed his last, and said, "Truly this man was the Ben of Elohim." And there was women watching from a distance, among whom was also Miriam from Magdala, and Miriam and the mother of Yaakov, and Joseph and Shlomo, who also followed him and attended to him. And when he was in Galilee, and many other women who came up with him in Jerusalem. And when the evening came, because it was the preparation day, that is the day before the Sabbath, Joseph of Ramathaim, and in prominent council of member who himself waiting for the reign of Elohim, came and boldly went to Pilate and asked for the body of Yahshua. But Pilate just wondered whether he was already dead. So summoning the captain and asked him if he was already dead. When he learned from the captain, he gave the body to Joseph. And having brought the fine linen and took him down in wrapped it in a rain, and he laid him in a tomb which had been hewn out of the rock, and wrote on a stone against the entrance to the tomb. And Miriam from Magdala and Miriam of Joseph saw where he was laid, the book of Marcos, chapter number 16. Verse number 1. And when the Sabbath was past, Miriam from Magdala and Miriam from Jacob, Shalomo brought spices and go anoint him. Early morning on one of the Sabbath, they came to the tomb when they had risen. They said among themselves, who shall roll away the stone from us to the entrance of the tomb for us? And looking up, they saw that the stone had been rolled away, for it was extremely large. And having entered into the tomb, they saw a young man sitting on the right hand, wearing a white robe, and they were greatly alarmed. And he said to them, do not be much alarmed. You seek Yahshua of Nazareth, who was impaled. He is raised, and he is not here. See, the place where he was laid, and go and sit with him and Kephas to his thing, and before you go to Galilee, you shall see and him there he said to you. And they went out and from the tomb, and they were trembling and bewildered, and they spoke to one another, for they were afraid. And having risen in the morning, one of the Sabbath, he appeared in the first Miriam Magdala, from whom he had cast out 7 demons. She went and reported to those who had been with him mourning and weeping. And when he heard that he was arrived, he had been seen up by her, they did not be. And after he appeared in another 2 of them, they walked and went into the field, and they had reported in the rest, and they did not believe them either. Later they appeared to the 11 as they sat at the table, and he reported them and unbelief and hardness of their heart. They did not believe, for those who had seen him as he was raised. And he said to them, go into all the world and proclaim the goodness to every creature. He who believed shall be he must be saved, but he who has not believed shall be condemned. And this shall be a change shall accompany the ones who believe. My name they shall cast out demons, they shall speak with renewed tongues, they shall take up stones, snakes, if they drink anything deadly, it shall be by no means. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall cast out. Then indeed they are done them to them. He was received to the Shemaim, and he sat at the right hand of Elohim, and they went and out, they proclaimed it everywhere. And they, while the master worked with them and confirmed the word through their accompanying the signs. Amen. Thanks our viewers for watching. Your horses, Ron Evans, through Injili Milele Yahshua Messiah, through the journey through the scriptures. And where we are, we say thank you to Abba Yahweh, to Darababa Yahweh, and your prophet Yahshua Mashiach. That is to say, all appreciation to Abba Yahweh, and all esteem to Yahweh, and also of Yahshua, our Messiah. Thanks for watching. I've been your host, Ron Evans. Thanks for watching. Thank you. We are come to the end of the book of come to the end of the book of Mark, and also wait for the next episode, the book of Ruth. May I do you good and balance you. Shalom, peace, and he's saying be blessed for the nice job. I too say that you be blessed, and then be a